Today let's talk about the 4 different ways that you can actually make money in the short-term rental business. A lot of people think that you have to have a boatload of cash to go in and buy your first property. Well, that's not the case. So I'm going to walk through the different options that you have. If you have cash, there is no question. You also need some good credit. You want to go and invest and purchase appreciating assets. But if you don't, there's other ways that you can get started. And the first place that I look at is co-hosting or managing properties. Literally, I just about an hour before filming this video just signed another co-hosting account where it requires 0 cash investment to get into the short-term rental, get in the Airbnb game. What that is that you identify a property. It could be an apartment, could be a single family home, a cabin, could be anything that you see that is underperforming. So you got to do a little bit of research. I like to go in and I look at Airbnb in a market that I know, and I'm going to look first at photos, I'm going to look at titles, I'm going to look at listings, and I'm going to look at calendar. But that's really not enough detailed information to make an investment to take the next step. Then I'll go into AirBNB and run some data on that house. So I'm going to forecast what I think the house is doing now based on ADR that I can see, based on their calendar, and based on how well their listing is optimized. And let's just say I'm going to forecast they're doing $70,000 to $80,000 a year in revenue. If AirBNB shows me that the 90th percentile or 85th percentile can do $100,000 in revenue, well, I know that I can typically do about 110 to 120. So I could probably turn that into a $100,000 property or even a $110,000 property. What I've identified is that it's underperforming for the owner of that house that is managing. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to reach out via messenger to the owner of that property, or I'm going to do a little bit more digging and find some tax records, some real estate records on that house to see if I can find out who that owner is, maybe do some LinkedIn research, and then go in and contact them through social media and give them a proposal and some recommendations of some steps they can take to increase their ADR, their overall revenue, and their profit. Here's what happens. Most of the time for the properties that I'm looking at, those owners don't want to be involved. They don't want to take that much time and that much effort to be able to go and maximize their profit. That opens the door for you and me to be able to slide in and say, look, I'll do this for you. And I'm so confident that I'll be able to benefit you. Here's where you're at today. Here's what I estimate your profit to be. Here's where I can take it. Let's just say from 70,000 to 110,000. And they're going to say, you're crazy. How are you going to do 40% more than I can? Because I'm going to do these 7 things, these 8 things. And I'm so confident that I'm going to be able to deliver this to you. I'll do it for the first 30 days for free. That's where you have to have the right mindset. If you have the mindset and you have the belief that you are really that good and you can deliver that to your prospect, then you're going to be much more likely to win that account. But now you got to work and deliver for those first 30 days. That's the approach that I use to acquire co-hosting accounts. Number 2 is going to be doing rev share and RevPAR, and that's where you can go in, and that's typically used inside of going after apartments, condos, duplexes, that type of stuff, to where you're going in and you're just going to do a typical split. You're going to sign a contract. The third one's going to be rental arbitrage. In my opinion, this is the most risky one. This is where you go to a property, and it's typically done once again in apartments, townhomes, condos. And a lot of people, like you hear this on Clubhouse, you see this in Facebook, where they're talking about, I've got 100 units, I've got 200 units. Well, there's a lot of people that are doing 100 units and they're spending $2,000 a month on long-term leases. Well, that $2,000 a month property is only generating $4,000, $4,500 a month in revenue. Well, they've also got insurance on top of their rent, they've got utilities, they've got internet, they might have some marketing costs. There's very low margin in rental arbitrage, and the volume of those properties are typically located in dense downtown urban areas, which, as we all know in COVID, are the ones that have been absolutely crushed. So I'm not an advocate of rental arbitrage. I believe that if you're trying to break in with little to no money, that I would go down the co-hosting or the rev share as opposed to signing those long-term leases. Because at the end of the day, man, I mean, you sign a lease for $2,000 a month, you're investing $24,000 over the course of 12 months. But you know how much equity you're gaining in that? Absolutely zero. Zero equity, and you have absolutely no appreciation. So you're not investing into an asset. And if you're not investing into an asset, then what the fuck are you doing? You're just building a business. All you're doing is generating cash flow. If you want to build long-term wealth, you need to be looking at number 4. And that's investing into appreciating assets. That's what I do. I buy single family homes. I buy them in markets that are appreciating. I run my pro formas pre-purchase, so I mitigate almost all of my risk. And here's the thing that I'll tell you. I've got a multi-million-dollar portfolio. I started with $90,000 for my very first down payment. And then I have grown my portfolio strictly out of cash flow and profit that has been generated off of that first property. I have never once, not one time, had to pull out my wallet and make a mortgage payment, because I'm cash flowing out of my properties, but I'm also gaining the appreciation. And one of the quick things that you can do is a short-term rental flip when you're going into investing into appreciating assets. This is kind of 4A or 4B, right? Maybe even classified as number 5. You find a great deal on a property. I'm doing this right now. Got a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, tier 2. That means there's one street between the house and the beach in Gulf Shores, Alabama. The deal is ridiculous at $535. I'm doing 15% down commercial loan, 12 months interest only. I'm going in and buying the asset, and the day that I close, I'm relisting here in about 2 weeks at $625. I think I have a 70 to 75% chance of selling that somewhere between $610 to $625 within the first week of listing it, because the inventory is completely depleted. There's nothing available. This house is slated to do $70,000 to $75,000 a year in revenue per AirBNB. That in itself is a great investment. But if I can do a retail flip and invest $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 into furnishings, a little bit of paint within the first couple of weeks, list the house for sale, get it listed on Airbnb and VRBO, and start generating, $2,500 to $3,500 a week in March, April, May. Even if I have to hold on to it for 90 days, I'm still generating that cash flow, because literally my mortgage is going to be about $925 a month. So there are the 4 ways that you can make money in the short-term rental space, all based on your personal situation and how much cash you have to invest. So I don't want you to get deterred when you're in these Facebook groups, you're in the Build Short-Term Rental Wealth group, you're on Clubhouse, and you see people talking about, they have all these number of units. Well, how am I going to get there? You can start with one with no cash. And that's really what I do recommend on that co-hosting model. It's really a marketing model, a hospitality model. I would kind of steer clear away from the rental arbitrage model and work your way up to be able to invest the way that I do if you don't have enough cash to be able to do it today. If you find this valuable, make sure that you absolutely crush that subscribe button, and then do me a favor, share this with 1 or 2 friends, so that way they can go on this journey along with you as well. And most importantly, jump over to Facebook and join me in the Build Short-Term Rental Wealth group.